I just find it so interesting that some of the greatest myths come out of people just sort of dying to themselves and being resurrected. It always starts with a death. Always starts with just hitting rock bottom and having nothing left. You know, I came from a story where I didn't feel just less than, or I just didn't have a voice or not pretty. I felt invisible. And I came from a long line of women who felt invisible. And they're the ones who attempted to throw me an invisible rope. Courage is just fear said with prayers. And I feel that it takes a great deal of courage to hit bottom and to feel invisible and then to share one story. But it's in the sharing of the story in front of people who have empathy that kills shame. And once that shame is killed, guess what? You're running. And when I look at the zeitgeist today and I look at what is happening with women in terms of sexual assault, in terms of poverty, in terms of politically what's happened, I think to myself, the change and the shift that needs to happen is the internal. It's finding the courage to own one's story, to say and wake up one day and feel like, damn, I'm not perfect. Sometimes I don't feel pretty. Shit, sometimes I don't want to slay dragons. Sometimes the dragon I'm slaying is myself. But damn it, I'm worth it. I don't have to barter for my worth. I don't have to pay someone for it. I came out of my mom's womb worthy. At 25, which was a time in my life that I was at Juilliard, and I went to Juilliard and they basically said, you're overweight. You know, you're gonna play a matriarch your entire life. You know, what kind of roles can you play, Viola? And I thought to myself, oh my God, I know I'm an actor. I know that that's what I was born to do. That's what's gonna make my life worthwhile. I know I have something in me. When there was no one to give me the answer. So I remember I took a trip to Africa. It was paid for by Juilliard, by the way, so I have to give them some credit. And I studied the dance and music and folklore of 4 different tribes, just for a very short period of time. And I went into a village of the Mandinka tribe. And one day there were these group of women that came through the tribe, and they were dressed with oversized clothes, oversized shoes. They painted their faces, and they had drums, and they had huge calabashes of food, and they were screaming at the top of their lungs, just screaming, you know, the yell. Yeah! And they kept screaming like that. And they kept making funny faces, rolling their eyes. And soon, other people came out of their houses. And pretty soon, you saw hundreds of people gathering around them. Hundreds of them. And they passed the calabash around the food, and they all just slopped it in their mouths. And they slopped it, and they ate it, and passed it around, and then all those people were screaming so loud I couldn't hear myself. I was like, what the hell is this? What ritual is this? And I later found out that these were women who were infertile. And the biggest blessing you could have as a woman in the Gambia was to have a child. And these women felt that the reason why they hadn't been blessed with a child is because God didn't hear their voice, that God didn't see them. And so the ritual was about making as much noise as you could possibly make so that God could hear it and pour down a blessing. We don't have that ritual here. We pray for connection. We pray to be seen. We pray that somehow that invisibility cloak will be unleashed and reveal us. What I say is that it is up to me to lift that veil and to show you and to have the courage and the vagina to not have to get it together to show up. To show up and perfectly and beautifully and messily as I am. And it's that truth that connects me to everyone in this room. It is that allows you to unleash your story and do the same. You know, lighthouses don't go around the island just shining their light and saving people. They just sort of stand there shining. That's what I choose to do with my work. I just choose to be me. And I think that's something that we all can do. The Native Americans would kill the buffalo and take out the heart and eat it. It's a sort of internalized courage, the courage and the guts to just slay dragons. Biggest dragons I think you can slay is yourself. Because I'll tell you, 70% of women now, there's been a 70% spike of suicide in young women. And one of the main reasons is images on the internet of other women sharing their beautifully perfect life. That's a known fact according to the CDC. I say if perfectionism is driving the car, then shame is riding shotgun and fear is that nagging backseat driver. That be willing to own your story and share it. And I'll tell you one thing, you might as well put the bow and arrow behind you and the sword in it, because you will be the most courageous person in the world.